Thank you everyone for joining us for today's grand round. We have a special guest. Her name is Linda Martin, and she is the Managing Local Ombudsman for the Alamo Area Agency on Aging, which is part of the Alamo Area Council on Governments here in North Central San Antonio. Her undergraduate degree is in Gerontology from the Appalachian State University, and her master's degree is in Public Administration from Georgia State University in Atlanta, where she also received a graduate certificate in gerontology. Before coming to San Antonio and the AACOG, Linnie worked for the Georgia Gerontology Society and Georgia State Gerontology Center. Today, she'll be speaking to us on long-term care ombudsman program. So would you please help me in giving her a warm round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. And I did actually go around and meet everybody in person, kind of to give you a feel of what I do when I go into nursing homes and assisted living facilities and try to get to know an individual and introduce myself and usually try to help someone be comfortable with me so that they can share personal things. I'll do a little, let's go with this one. The first thing is, what is an ombudsman? Which is that people get the word mixed up all the time, but the best way to do it is try to divide it up. Ombudsman. And it's a Swedish word that comes from the word citizen advocate. An ombudsman advocates for quality of life and care for people living in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. And that's just pretty much the bottom line of what an ombudsman does. And then the next slide is, who is an ombudsman? We are staff and volunteers. In our area, we have about 15 to 20, depending on different circumstances, volunteers that go to our 11 counties surrounding Bexar County. And we have about 50 some nursing homes and assisted living facilities that we visit. To become an ombudsman, you have to be certified by the state. You go through training, and the state long-term care ombudsman program certifies you. Even our volunteers go through an intense training to be certified, to go into a nursing home with a badge and to say, I'm the ombudsman for you. The history of the ombudsman program, it started in 1972 with Nixon, with that administration, as a demonstration program. And then it's increased and increased, and people worked on it so much over the years that now it's in every state. Every state has a long-term care ombudsman, and if you live, wherever you live, whatever county, there should be an ombudsman that serves your county. And there should be a phone number for that ombudsman that can assist you or family, friends, residents, and staff. Today, it's established in all states under the Older Americans Act. So it's very official, which is administered by the Administration on Aging. So we are a government and federally funded program. And actually I work for the Department of Aging and Disability Services, which is in Texas. So we're federally funded, money comes down through DADS and then on to us. Have any of y'all ever heard of an ombudsman before? Anybody? Okay, that's good. There are ombudsmen, like I know, in universities and hospitals, but we're a long-term care ombudsman, meaning just for nursing homes and assisted living. What does an ombudsman do? We help ensure that residents receive the care they want and are treated with dignity they deserve. That's one of the biggest issues with nursing home residents, is that they don't receive the dignity that they deserve as a human being. We investigate and resolve complaints by and on behalf of residents. So whenever, let's see, when you ate that food and you said, this food was cold and I've had the same thing served to me every single day at lunch, and you talk to the ombudsman, she's saying it's true. And and then you come and talk to an ombudsman, call me, or I'm in the building and you talk to me, I open up a case on that, and I talk to you and ask you, well, have you talked to anybody about that, having the cold noodles? And you may say, well, you know, actually, yes, I did speak to dietary, and I talked to my nurse and the nurse's aide, and they said, well, that's too bad. You're going to have that. So once I know that you've already tried to do something, then I step in and try to assist you. Now, our job is, the main thing is to empower residents. So if you hadn't asked anybody for any help, I may say something like, would you like to speak to someone first before I ask them? You know, giving her the power to go and ask someone directly for assistance. And that's, that's just a basic, that's one of the simplest things about food or coffee. We deal with a lot more difficult situations. We work with residents, families, friends, and facility staff to resolve the complaints and problems. We provide information to residents and families about rights and procedures, and to help identify additional resources in and out of the facility. So they may ask us questions about the community, they may ask us questions about the facility. Our job is to be a resource and to let people know more information. We advocate for the quality of life and quality of care for residents. That's our main job. If you can look at the little brochure, that's our job. And the main thing is to protect and advocate for resident rights. Has anybody ever heard of resident rights other than the pamphlet you just looked at? Yes. Okay. I'm going to actually pass these out, and then I'm going to have you all do what I do with what I do with nurses' aides and with nursing is I have them, because we have this, every nursing home and assisted living has this up on the wall, and they can't put it up too high and they can't put it too low. They have to put it where someone in a wheelchair can read it, and it's kind of small, and they have to be able to see where there's a phone number where they could call if they have issues. So actually what I'd like to do, without tormenting y'all, is to have each of you read just a couple of them. We don't have to read the whole thing, but just pick a couple out that you just see and just read those. And if y'all don't mind going around the room, that would be great. Would you start over here? Just pick out.
Dignity and risk. You have the right to live in safe, decent, and clean conditions.
Be free from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Be treated with dignity, courtesy, consideration, and respect. Be free from discrimination based on age, race, religion, sex, nationality, disability, marital status, or source of income.
Practice your own religious beliefs. Keep and use personal property secure from theft or loss. Choose and wear your own clothes.
Be free from any physical or chemical restraints used for discipline or convenience and not required to treat a medical symptom and receive visitors.
Freedom of choice. You have the right to make your own choices regarding personal affairs, care, benefits, and services. Choose your own physician at your own expense or through a healthcare plan. Manage your own financial affairs in the least restrictive method, or to delegate that responsibility to another person.
Access money and property you have deposited with facility, and to have an accounting of the money and property that are deposited with the facility and of all financial transactions made with or on your behalf. Participate in activities inside and outside the facility.
Place in your room an electronic monitoring device that is owned and operated by you or provided by your guardian or legal representative. Refuse to perform services for the person or facility providing services. Use advanced directive as found in the Texas Health and Safety Code number 166.02. Designate a guardian or representative to ensure quality stewardship for quality of affairs. The protected measures shall apply.
You have the right to privacy. Privacy during visits, phone calls, and while attending to personal needs. You can send and receive unopened mail and to receive help in reading or writing correspondence.
Participation in your care. You have the right to receive all care necessary to have the highest possible level of health. Participate in developing plans of care. To refuse treatment and refuse to participate in experimental research. To refuse treatment, care, or services. Receive information about prescribed psychoactive medication from the person who prescribes the medication or that person's designee.
We don't have to read all of them. What I do, the reason I do that is so often people don't take the time actually to read them and to think about them and realize that that first paragraph, which is at the very top, I'm going to read that to you all. And I read this we have a resident rights, resident council meetings, and people read, I read this out loud to the residents because they're unaware of what their rights are. It says, residents of Texas nursing facilities have all the rights, benefits, responsibilities, and privileges granted by the Constitution and laws of this state and the United States. They have the right to be free of interference, coercion, discrimination, and reprisal in exercising these rights as citizens of the United States. And one thing that residents always ask me, you know, they're like, you mean I have the same rights as I did when I lived out in my house or my apartment? And it's like, yes, that is the biggest thing. And the reason I had you all read it is, you know, when I work with staff, a lot of times they don't realize that. It's like hard to believe, but they don't, you know, they just didn't take the time. They're so busy doing their work and caring for people and doing nursing that they don't really think about the fact that each individual who's in there has the same rights as they did when they lived outside. Coming up in October, they always have Resident Rights Month, and this October is the one about voting, my right to vote. And so there's across the state of Texas and other states too, there'll be a big push to help people realize that just because you're in a nursing home doesn't mean you lose the right to vote. It means you get to vote, you know, and that the nursing home's responsibility is to help you vote, to help you get the paperwork done or to take you somewhere so that you can vote. And these are just, you know, things that we all take for granted, but these are major things to nursing home residents, and they get very excited about the fact that they have these rights. And you all can keep those. And I've already read that one. So let's see. Yeah, just to explain a little bit like about resident councils, they are organized meetings that meet once a month with a purpose. Staff and family members have to be invited. You can't just come. This is the one time the residents meet together, like a room like this, where you all would meet if you were residents, and I couldn't come and he couldn't come unless we were invited to attend. And the purpose is to give residents a chance to explain and share their concerns about their care, and also to make plans, you know, and to discuss and have a group consensus on something that they want to. Fear of retaliation is one of the most significant barriers to residents voicing their concerns. They're afraid to speak out, that somebody might hear that they complained about the food or the coffee, or one of the bigger issues of someone hitting them, someone treating them poorly, you know, having a really difficult time in a shower, not being bathed. I mean, the list goes on, as you can see from the resident rights. Those rights are there because they've been abused, and so they make sure that those lists are there. And a resident council meeting, it can help people get over the fear of being afraid, and they can have strength in numbers. And sometimes I'll go to a resident council, I've been invited, and it's true, there may be half the room has dementia, you know, and the other half maybe have some form of dementia. But you know what? They still know what they need, and they still can voice something about the care. You know, people can say just even small things, and the group, they write it down, they try to get someone to write it down the best they can, and then to present it to the administrator. And the administrator, in all dreams, is supposed to then respond within 10 days to the issues. The reality is, most of the time that's where I step in, because the administration never responds to the residents' concerns. Unfortunately, that's just a fact. But they're required to respond to the concerns. They just don't always do it. And a family council, that's similar to a resident council, in that is family members get together with each other, with legal guardians and friends. It doesn't have to just be a direct family member. Once again, staff and residents have to be invited to attend the family council. It can't be just something on that where you just step in. They provide an opportunity for family members to voice their concerns and plan activities and develop a network of support. Most of family members need someone else to talk to. The family council usually governs itself, but once again, the facility has to provide a space for them to meet and also announce the meetings. They have to provide some way to announce it. And then once again, the facility is required to respond to the concerns. I usually step in a lot because they don't respond to the concerns. Let's see, the next thing I wanted to share is the issue of abuse and neglect. As an ombudsman, we deal with that all the time. All the time. With abuse, the definition is the willful infliction of injury, unreasonable confinement, intimidation, or punishment with resulting physical harm, pain, or mental anguish. I have, let's see, I have another handout. This is just some indicators of abuse, just for you all to have in your notes. And then let me tell you, the other definition is about neglect. And that is the failure to provide goods and services necessary to avoid physical harm, mental anguish, or mental illness. And that's neglect. And then I have one other, this little handout here. This has the definition on there, abuse and neglect. And it has the state licensure definitions, tells you where that is. And I have just the few little exercises down here at the bottom that I thought we could just go over. Once again, these are things that I will bring to a nursing home when I do the training, just to help people get it clear in their minds. Would somebody read the first one? Anybody? You want me to read it?
What do you mean where it says bruises and
Oh,
cuts?
no, sorry, this is down here. Just an individual exercise. Oh, it's coming. Sorry. Yeah.
The individual exercise.
Yes.
Read the following scenarios and determine whether they are abuse or neglect. First, a certified nurse aide transferred a resident from her wheelchair to the toilet. She then went to feed another resident her breakfast. A housekeeper discovered that the first resident had fallen off the toilet 30 minutes later. The registered nurse noted that the seat belt for the toilet, which is required for the resident, had not been fastened. The call bell was broken. The resident received a 3.5-inch laceration to her forehead and a broken nose. The CNA stated, "I got busy and forgot all about her."
So would you all consider that neglect or abuse?
Neglect.
Neglect, yes. Okay, what about number 2?
Resident spits on the CNA who is feeding her. In response, the CNA slaps the resident's face. Does this happen? I mean,
Oh, I hate to tell you, I hate to tell you, but it's every day.
Happens a lot.
Every day.
this is abuse.
Yeah, it's abuse, yeah. I'm afraid, yeah, that's the only reason, that's the reason, yeah, it's scary. Number 3.
A client's mother confronts her daughter's roommate who keeps wearing her daughter's clothes. During the confrontation, the mother yells, "Keep your filthy hands off of my daughter's clothes. Are you so stupid that you don't know which clothes are yours?" That sounds like abuse to me.
Yes, verbal abuse. Yes. Number 4. Anybody?
A CNA feeds a ham sandwich to a resident with a pureed diet. The resident chokes on the sandwich. The RN performs a Heimlich maneuver successfully. The CNA stated to the administrator, "We were taught in orientation that residents have the right to refuse to do things and make choices." He refused to eat a pureed sandwich and requested a whole sandwich.
Neglect.
Yeah. These are things that happen. These are real cases, you know, and these are things that happen all the time. Yeah. Number 5. Anybody?
Two nursing assistants replace a brain injured resident's Houdini restraint. The resident grabs the shirt off one of the aides, and the resident refuses to let go. The aide pushes the resident's fingers back towards his wrist.
That's abuse, yeah. And we don't, that brings up the issue about these restraints. Texas, really tries to be a restraint-free. Nursing homes, the facilities try. And actually, I haven't seen people being restrained. It's pretty great. And I used to work in nursing homes back in early 80s, and the whole, half the building people were restrained. So people fought long and hard to make that change. And I have to say, Texas may not be great on some things, but that's been something I've seen.
I know that within the hospital, or at least in the ER, you have to have a doctor's orders rewritten every hour. What's the rule in the nursing home?
To have someone restrained?
Yeah, to maintain restraint.
Yeah, it's only if someone is abusing someone else, and it has to have a doctor's order, and it has to be very temporary.
Okay.
Usually, if it's something that's happening where someone needs to be restrained, it needs to be until we can help them get to the NICS. It just has to be a temporary thing. It can't be something where it's overnight or a couple days. No, it has to be very temporary. It has to be on the process of getting someone out. Yeah.
And while they're restrained, they have to be observed also.
Yes, that's right. And then the family, of course, is called immediately. So they, some nursing homes have been where they say, when we need to do it, and you need to come over right away so that you can be here while we're doing it. Yeah. Let's see, where are we? Number six.
Client with a long history of wandering walks out the side door of the facility undetected because the wander guard system is malfunctioning. Client attempted to enter a neighbor's home and was arrested by a police officer.
Neglect, yeah. And last one is number 7. Okay, a resident complains to 2 CNAs that his roommate is pressuring him to have sex. The resident stated, "I keep telling him no, but he says he will hurt me if I don't give in." The 2 CNAs tell the resident to stay away from the other resident. They do not document the allegation, report it to their supervisor, or make room assignment changes. The alleged victim hides in a closet for the rest of the day. And it's like neglect, failure to protect. They didn't protect this person. And then it shows you in that case what they should have done immediately. Tell their supervisor, report it, talk to them about room changes. Just immediately get someone else to know the information. And a lot of times, I do this little flyer with CNAs, nurses assistants, because they really don't know these pieces, even though they go through training and they do learn things. And the training is, I think it's really only about 80 hours. It's not very long, and we were just talking this morning at work that it's less hours than it takes to be a dog groomer in the state, the training that you take. So we try to do as much education as we can and to provide to nursing homes training whenever they request anything about abuse and neglect, especially. And then, since I'm making you guys be CNAs, kind of, I'm going to make you take a little quiz, a reviews quiz. This is just so you really, it's basically so that you see how that staff in nursing home really don't know. There's not a, yeah. Okay, you have to, yeah. You're good. And you guys can fill them out really quick. It's not hard. You'll be surprised. You can use my pen. Yeah, there you go. Sure. Like the first one, fortunately the number of elder abuse victims is expected to decrease as the population ages. Unfortunately, that's a false. Yeah, there's going to be more. Our knowledge of elder abuse is limited since those involved often have done a good job of keeping it secret. That's the truth. People keep this very, very secretive. If you position an elderly incorrectly or force them to eat, you are physically abusing that person. That is true. It is never acceptable to restrain an elder chemically or physically for purposes of discipline or convenience. And that is true. I don't know about you all, but that piece tends to be, lately, the chemical abuse and financial abuse are the two big pieces that I have seen an increase in the last 5 years. You know, that unfortunately, because they don't restrain people physically anymore, when people go into nursing homes, they give them immediately too many medications and then don't get them off of them very quickly, and it causes all kinds of difficulties. And then the financial piece, with the economy and everything, it's really scary how often people are financially abusing the elderly. Yeah.
You're talking about administration?
Families and administration, anybody who has an opportunity, unfortunately. When an elder is treated like a child or an infant, they're being psychologically abused. That's a true. And I still hear that a lot. That's something that we're just trying to re-educate staff. Withholding adequate fluids or physical therapy or false teeth from a senior is considered physical neglect. That's true. When elders use their call bells inappropriately, you are not abusing them if you take your time answering their calls. That's false. Unfortunately, that's a big problem with answering call bells. They're ignored a lot. If you are neglecting an elder, if you leave them on the toilet for an extended period of time, even if you got busy and just forgot. That's true. You should suspect abuse if a family seeks care that does not fully meet the needs of an elder with financial means. And that's true. I see this all the time. And all the counties. Older adults from all walks of life can be victims of abuse. That is true. More than half of all reported abuse victims are men. That's false. It does tend to be more women. Family members are most often the abusers outside healthcare facilities, and that is true. Family members do not continue abusing elders who have been admitted to a healthcare facility, and that's false. Family members still come in and do all kinds of things, I'm afraid. Mental illness or alcoholism in either elders or caregivers signal the potential for abuse or neglect, and that is true. Dehydration, bed sores, and personal hygiene may be signs of physical neglect. That's kind of a for sure. A lot of times residents coming in, I think that's what they're talking about when they come in. When you witness abuse, your primary concern is to report the abuser to prevent the abuse from happening again, and that's true. Failure to report observed or suspected abuse can result in the observer being charged with an abuse or neglect, and that is also true. These are just, for the CNAs, a lot of these things are really important for them to see how serious the issues are. They, unless they see it in writing and they've signed it or done a little test like this, it just doesn't click. And so I just felt like you all might really appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions so far? One of the, you don't have to have questions. One of the most important things that I always tell residents is that the Ombudsman program is confidential and free. Since they're so concerned about retaliation, we just really try to make it clear that everything is confidential. I always ask their permission if they are willing for me to discuss anything they've said to me with someone else, if it's okay if I write things down. That's a big concern for a lot of residents. Until they've developed a trust with an ombudsman, it takes them a while. We always ask for consent before attempting to resolve anything. Sometimes they'll say, no, I don't want you to do anything. And what I do in those kind of cases is I do document it on my own, but then we continue to ask them each time. And a lot of times, over time, people give in and say, you know, yes, I would like some help. Now, if it has to do with abuse or neglect, that's a whole different issue, and we have to report it.
One question I have.
Yes.
Who do you report it to?
I reported also to DADS, to the regulatory. There's a regulatory office, and
This is a regulatory office for the nursing homes, or is it like a state, just like a police department?
oh no,
or-
it's just for nursing homes. Yeah,
It's for nursing homes.
Mhm.
So
Nursing
there's-
home assisted living. Mhm.
Okay. So is this like a authority which actually checks on the nursing homes?
Pardon?
Is this like a authority which keeps a check
Yes.
on the nursing homes? And
Yes.
so what happens, say if you report it, they're gonna take an action, can the nursing home lose their license or something like that?
They could if it, was.
If they don't resolve it?
Yeah,
Or-
if they don't resolve it and the abuse isn't settled and they don't, the state comes in and checks on an abuse, they'll show up. If I called in, like especially an abuse case or something, they will come into the facility and investigate.
Do you talk to the adult protective services as well? Do you involve them?
Yeah, we do work with them, but usually once a resident comes in a nursing home, Adult Protective Services steps back. And the resident is considered in a safe place. Once you're in a nursing home, so Adult Protective Services tends to help people out in the community. So once they're in, if there's a problem, they contact the nursing home, or staff or residents contact us as Ombudsman. And then usually if there's something really difficult, if it's something that's a family-related thing, there's usually an APS case file on them, and we have access to those. But if it's something that just happens in the nursing home, we don't call APS. If it's something abuse or neglect, we call the state. And the number's on the back of the brochure. This little brochure, it's this number right here, the 1-800 number. Like if you went in and saw something that you didn't feel good about and you didn't have time to call the Ombudsman and get something settled, and you felt like it was dangerous for the resident, you would call DADS. And we, as Ombudsman, we participate in, they have a survey that's once a year. The state comes in and surveys a nursing home. And we participate in that and let them know what all the complaints of the whole year were. And we sit with them when they have a group meeting with the residents and discuss issues. We also attend that meeting. And then we work closely with the survey team. And mainly because we go every week or every 2 weeks. We go to the nursing home a lot, so they do work closely with us.
You said that every county has an ombudsman.
Yes.
Is it one person for the whole county, or it just depends on the size of the county?
Yeah, it depends on, like for us, since there's just 3 staff members for 11 counties. But the reason, but the way that it works and the way that we're hopeful and believe in that we do a lot is we have these volunteers. Like I said, we have about 15 volunteers right now they go every week. We assign them to one nursing home. And they go, and it's usually a nursing home near their home. We don't send them to another county, a long way away. We get them to go to the nursing home that's hopefully down the street or 5 miles from their house, and they go there every week. And they do an ombudsman, they have a badge, they're certified, and even if they're volunteer, they are certified by the state of Texas. And they go in and they announce their presence to administration, and they can go anytime. They can go, any time of day or night, they could show up. And they can walk in rooms and talk to people and do investigations too. That's why, unfortunately, if we had more money, it would be great. Because then we would have a staff person that could go to every facility in every county. But yeah, it's just the way it is. Like I know in Bexar County, they have 2 staff, but they have maybe, I know they have a larger number of volunteers because there's so many places to go. And we're always looking for volunteers. Friends or family who are interested in the Ombudsman program, we're always, everywhere, always looking for someone. And then, let's see. I guess I don't have any more of those. I want to make sure, how much time do we have? Oh,
Got another, at least 10 minutes if
Okay.
you want it.
Sure. And I wondered, has anybody ever heard of culture change? I'm going to just pass around this thing. It's just culture change just means, like what we're talking about is more resident-directed care rather than administration-directed care. It means that the fact, like in this room are all of you that are here, and you all like to get up at different times of day. At most nursing homes, they make everybody get up, you know, like at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock so that they can get them their breakfast at 7 o'clock. And the whole hope of the future with nursing homes is to change that, to let each person come in and decide what do they like, and to have it on the chart that says she likes to get up at 9:30. She does not want to get up at 6:30, and he loves to get up early because he likes to have a cup of coffee outside and watch the birds. And then she likes to sleep in late because she likes to stay up late. And that the whole, in the past, so much of the energy has been about whether or not, how to manage this many people, you know, in a facility. And the way they've managed it is to have it kind of like Girl Scout camp, you know, where everybody's up at a certain time, or staff, one group is coming in, and so we need to get everybody into the meal and everybody fed and cleaned up before the next shift comes, and you have this much time to get them changed, and you know, it just it doesn't really work, and it doesn't really make residents very happy. So these are just, I just thought you might enjoy reading this models of care. Like the first one that just says staff provides standardized treatments based on medical diagnosis. And then this person-directed or resident-directed care, and staff bases care on individualized care needs and personal wishes. The same with the next one, facility designs schedules and routines. Staff and residents comply. And person-directed is flexible schedules and routines match resident needs and wishes. The same thing with task and management. I like the part down here that says the facility is the staff's workplace. And the difference with person-directed care is the facility is a resident's home. And that is something that just is a wonderful thing when I've seen that happen. It shifts and changes. People have a better well-being, better life. And even the last one that says, traditional is residents see the nursing home as a place to die. That seems to be the, you know, kind of a given with people's thoughts about what a nursing home is. And a person-directed or resident-directed care would be rituals and celebrations, acknowledge life, and establish an environment where everyone thrives and grows. Noting large and small accomplishments, celebrating the lives of residents and employees, supporting life and growth through daily activities, and providing purpose, diversity, and spontaneity. And those are things that I've seen. One way that people lately that I've seen most facilities trying to do is, and it's just a simple thing, but they try to put a tablecloth and cloth napkins on the table 3 times a day. And you know, it's a small thing, but it's huge to a resident who's used to these table mats and you know, things that they call bibs. Instead of calling them a bib, now they'll try to make them, you know, a napkin or a cloth. They don't call them bibs anymore, you know, and then to put them on in a different way that's instead of like a bib for a child. But it's amazing what the tablecloths do. You know, everybody just feels better and they feel it's just special. It's just human beings. The same with, I've seen facilities lately give a first choice of food and then always a second choice. And then some of the other ones also give a third choice of like an always food. Like you can always have a hamburger if you want a hamburger, or you can always have a chef salad. That's always on the menu, like if you didn't like the first or second choice. And at nursing homes, those 3 meals are kind of a big deal. It's the one time to socialize, get together. Food becomes really important. And so things like that, those are small things, but there's other small things that are just amazing, how much better people feel when you change some of those, some of the things that just seem to be like just organized. Yeah, I like this one that says resident adapts to the facility. That's been the big push for forever. How to get these people to adapt to this life, you know? How to get my Aunt Marie to get where she just adapts to this life. This is going to be her life from now on. She needs to get used to it. And then instead is the facility adapts to the resident. And residents make decisions about their daily routines, such as waking, sleeping, dining, bathing, and participating in activities. And the bathing issue is a really big deal. For most residents, people who have dementia, it's very traumatic and stressful. And I've seen some of the facilities make huge strides where their bathing area, the shower room, you know, has plants, has nice lighting, has different colored tile. Just like if you went somewhere at a hotel or a spa, instead of it being like this cold room with tile that they have big hoses, they actually, you know, places will have the hoses on the side of the wall. You know, instead of that, you know, making it a comfortable place that feels safe, and sometimes you pipe in some music. You know, just small things that you think, of course, I can't believe we hadn't thought of that before. But people haven't thought of it before, and so now we have an opportunity to try to change those things. And that's something you'll see. It's becoming, culture change is just a big thing. There's a culture change coalition in Texas now. I have anybody there. It's just called Texas Culture Change Coalition. There you go. They have a website. If anybody wants it, it's www.txcc.net. There's a national organization that's a great website called Consumer Voice, consumervoice.org. And they are like the voice of residents of the future, and they, you know, they have a wonderful, they're in Washington, D.C., and they lobby and they support residents, and that's a very interesting website. If anybody is unaware, there is also a DADS website where you can look up a nursing home and look up the quality reporting system, the QRS. Like if you want to know where you have your Aunt Martha is going to go somewhere, you can look up and see the exact, you know, what the state actually gives them for a reporting score. And I have that website. If anybody wants it, I can tell it to you.
So that would be the.
Oh, that's it right there. Yeah, that's the one. And then if you look under there, under Health for Texans, that's the section to pull up, Health for Texans, and then it lists the nursing homes or assisted living facilities, and you can look those up.
Do you have a website like, you know, for nursing homes anywhere in the country?
Oh, like how to find a nursing
Any
home?
other state, yeah.
I think looking up under the Ombudsman program at that state would be a good way. You know, because they have lists there, since they're a resource, they have a listing of every single nursing home. And even though over the phone I can't like say, don't go there. You know, I can't really do that. But I can say just things that are on the website, and I can say, and if someone asks me, have you been there recently and how was your visit? You know, I can tell people what I've seen. And I can make suggestions for, especially, I usually suggest people go to the nursing home. Don't just assume by what you read. Go there on the weekend, go there at night, meet lots of families, go to lots of different things. Does anybody have any questions? I don't want to.
I have one question.
Yes.
I have two questions. Do you help those or work with those patients that are in medical foster homes, or is it only nursing homes?
Oh, it's just nursing homes and assisted living facilities. Yeah, the Ombudsman program. But I'm sure we could guide you to someone that, you know, if you had an issue with someone, we could help lead you to someone in the community. I can ask and talk to you afterwards, and we can. If you have an issue, I can help you.
No issue. I was just
okay.
wondering if it also
no.
covered those patients.
No. Yes.
How is your program advertised or marketed, or how do you get people aware of this?
At the facility?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facility and the families.
Yeah, well, one of these brochures and another one-page information sheet has to go in the packet. When the person comes to admissions, they have to get an ombudsman packet, and they have to give them the name of the ombudsman for the building. And then those, like I said, there's those big posters, but people are usually pretty stressed, and they don't tend to notice posters. That's just the way it is. And then we go, when we visit, we try to walk around, and we leave flyers at the front. I mean, we try every way we can to let people know. And yeah, and we go to resident councils. We try to form the family councils to get families involved. It's really difficult because families tend to get so caught up in their family members' issues, and they're so stressed that they forget that there's help outside. And one of the biggest things I do with my job, just to kind of fill you in, is we end up being mediators. We meet a lot of the time with families and with the nursing home administration. And families, and our main job is to represent the resident no matter what. And we try to bring the resident in the room if the resident is able to. But our job is to try to work with facilities and families together. And those are some pretty interesting meetings. But you know what? It works. That's what I can say, that we get through a lot of pieces and details around things because people's emotions tends to be really difficult when they're upset about their family members. But as ombudsman, that's one of our biggest roles, is that we are mediators. There's a lot of families with 8, 10, 12 family members in Texas, and we have to we work with a lot of people. But there's usually solutions that can be figured out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I had. Yeah, I guess if there's any questions, that's all I had, was just to get you all. I wanted you to mainly just to understand what the Ombudsman program is, and know that it's a resource that helps people in nursing homes and assisted living facilities, and it's something that I really believe in, that is a program that I think is getting better all the time, especially with education. Any other questions? I really appreciate your time. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. I think you missed out on a few things. So, do you want some flyers? I can give you. Let me give you this in my card.
The reason why I asked that question is because I'm visiting patients at home. There's like 3 or 4 patients in a medical foster home.